Welcome to StartupJab.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 23 of Startup Jab, kicking off 2016. I am one of your two hosts, Jason Nellis. With me as always, Teague. Damn, those are great headphones. Hopkins. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We're both rocking Sennheisers today because they're pretty spectacular. And again, Sennheiser, if you want to send us some swag, feel free. We'd be happy to take it. Teague, how are you?
We would take that sponsorship.
Absolutely.
I'm doing well. What people can't see is that we also have the same microphones out of frame.
Indeed.
So, if Blue wants to sponsor us, we'd be cool with that too.
Yeti Blue, ladies and gentlemen, free plugs. Here we go. It's good to see you, man. How you been?
Pretty good. It's finally gotten cold. I think we turned on the heat for the first time this year.
Yeah.
Well, this winter, rather. This year hasn't been that long yet.
I hear that. Business is good, I hope.
It is. New year, new website.
I like that.
I got something new up there. So
there you go.
Starting to make some moves.
I dig it. I got to tell you, the new year brings a new opportunity for all sorts of things, right? You get the new website. You got, on my side, the business is officially merged. So now we're a whole new thing officially. It's good. It's a challenge, but it is exciting, but it's hard. I mean, I don't know about you. Within the first 5 days of 2016, I've already had some challenges thrown at me. And fortunately, we have an opportunity to address how to deal with those. We've got some cool stuff coming today, right?
We do. This is our exciting episode. We're kicking off the new year. We're kicking off the new year by closing the books on the old year. We're going to look back at some of the top lessons learned that we've collected from a variety of sources, including some of our previous guests, and we'll have some of those guests returning and some new folks joining us, and should be a good show.
Absolutely. So we had, as Teague mentioned, we had folks who submitted either through email or through recording. We've got some good responses. I'm excited.
Yeah. Should we kick it off?
Absolutely. Teague, why don't you get us started?
All right. So our first piece of advice comes from Bess Winston, the managing director of the Winston Agency. And she says she started her own communications agency last year after nearly 20 years of working for, quote, big agencies in the government, and that it's been the scariest thing she's ever done. With the caveat that, of course, if life doesn't scare you a little bit, then you're not doing it right. So we asked her what did she wish she knew last year, and she gave us this great piece of advice, which is treat your business and your brand like a child. Right? You wouldn't let just anybody take care of your child. Don't hand out assignments to anybody who will do it. Right? Even if they're great friends in need of work, the threshold of who gets into your business is simple. Do they have the talent to do what you need, and can they deliver when you need them to? And I think that's some really great advice.
Absolutely. I think that one of the challenges that people face every year, this is certainly not new, is that we tend to not hold things precious. And I think her point about pretending it's your child is exactly spot on. I think one of the things we sometimes do is that, we've got a business going, we want to hand off some work to our friends, which is all well and good, but, I don't know about you. If I had a kid, I don't think that all of my friends would make good babysitters. I don't know that they'd also necessarily make good people to participate in my business. And that's okay. As Shakespeare wrote, I am not for all seasons. Sometimes you're not for everybody. You're not everything to everybody. And it's okay to be a little bit more judicious and a little bit more selective in your choices. Wouldn't you agree?
I would. I think that's it's often a big challenge for folks to reconcile now that I have my own business, I just, get to work with my friends all the time, right?
Sure.
And there's some of that. There's some advantage to getting to work with people who are really great, but you want to make sure that you distinguish between folks that you're working with and folks who are just friends.
Absolutely. Well, and for example, you and I only work together. We're not really friends. I wouldn't.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't associate with your kind. I don't know what that. People who didn't go to my high school. I guess that's it. I don't know what kind I really mean. Anyway,
it's school district's not close enough. Got to be the same high school. Right?
Exactly. Precisely. So definitely a strong opening there. So another piece of advice from Molly Katz, who founded the Molly Katz Communications in 2014. Two pieces of advice here, which I think are really smart. Number one, do things that you're a bit afraid to do. That sense of fear is actually an opportunity to conquer something that makes you feel victorious and build strength and additional confidence to taking on challenges in the future. And in contrast to that, be honest about your weaknesses and then focus on building them into strengths. Some of the best ways to take on the things that scare you the most is to turn them into the things that you're the best at. Finding those opportunities and building on them, I think, are really key. And hopefully they really have an impact. I think one of the challenges that people find in the beginning of the year is they're so overwhelmed with all the things that they want to do. They don't realize that every step is small and incremental and builds over time. And starting with the small things that you're afraid of can build into the larger things. So I think, I don't know. I mean, I guess in that instance, it's sort of saying that, things snowball if you do it right.
Yeah. Well, and I really love this idea of, be honest about your weaknesses and actively work to address them. I think that, there's multiple ways you can do that, right? You can learn everything yourself, and to some degree you need to learn a little bit of everything, but also that you can build your team. And when you're building your team, one of the reasons diversity is so great is that it's actually more valuable to have folks who complement you than to have folks who are just like you. And I
agree. I mean, I think, well, you don't need an echo chamber, right? You don't need somebody to come in and tell you what you already know. And I think in that instance, it's certainly important to diversify in that regard. Two very different pieces of advice from two people. I really like that. What about this third one? We had another one here that I think is worth sharing from Caitlin Raymond. I hope I'm not butchering that last name. The founder of UBEC.
Yeah. So Caitlin, mobile donation app from Chicago. And we asked Caitlin, what do you wish you knew last year that you know now? And I really like this one. This is, she says, she wishes she knew that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And I think this is so true for startup founders and for anybody working in small business, anybody working for themselves, even as just a freelancer. The first year, it seems like everything needs to be done yesterday, right? And it's so tempting to just sort of jump on every request immediately and do everything as it's coming in. And you kind of get burnt out of just like reacting all the time. And when you're reacting all the time, you get stuck in this mode of working in your business instead of on your business. And so Caitlin's advice was to set your plan and socialize the plan with your mentors, your advisors, your colleagues. Think about like what it is you actually want to get done, identify strengths and weaknesses in your plan and pay attention to the bigger picture. And in some ways, like talking to those founders or those mentors and advisors can help you take a step back and step out of the weeds and look at the bigger picture and see what is the actual important thing that I need to do this week instead of the urgent thing. And I think that's so important.
I think it's really easy to get lost in the weeds too. I mean, it's one of those things that we all fall habit to. It's going to happen to all of us every day. The opportunity to then take a step back and say, hey, it's really not a big deal that X, Y, and Z happened. And to have those people who bring you back to more of a clear sense of your goal, your direction, your sense of bearing, as it's sometimes used in the military. That sense of, this is where I'm honing in on. It's so important. It's so key to have that. I don't know. These people say it better than you and I would have. Let's leave it at that. These are definitely
there's some great pieces of advice in here, and we'll try to get some of the full content of these out to folks who are subscribed to the blog. So if you want to get some of these in your email, head on over to startupjab.com, and we will try to get the original source material out to you guys.
Having said that, though, we have a special guest coming back to chat with us today, which is super exciting because now we can talk about the stuff that he does, which he couldn't before.
I know. Yeah, this is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So let's get Steve Sunu in here. Steve is calling in.
Oh, I'm excited because now he can talk about stuff.
Host. Here we are.
Steve, good to have you back. How are you?
Hello, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome
It's
back.
good to be back. Thank you guys so much for having me again.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So first of all, before we jump into 2016 and all of your aspirations in terms of things you wish you knew back then, give everybody a sense of what you're working on now that you can talk about it.
Sure. Yeah. I last time I was here, it was for your wonderful Business of Comics episode, which I had a lot of fun doing, and I think people had a lot of fun listening to. Right now, my full title is I'm the public relations manager for a new company called Stila, and you can find that at the address that I will be putting into the chat. It is a mobile app that we want to sort of be the HBO now for comics, which is we spend a lot of time curating content. We've contacted a lot of the top writers and artists and some unrecognized but incredibly talented people to build our content library. And when we launch in early 2016, you'll be able to see all original content for a flat subscription rate per month. You'll get access to a whole library with new content every weekday. So we're very excited about the potential that this has, not just for the comics market, but for accessibility for comics in general. And so people now who are looking to just jump into some new, exciting, interesting content have the ability to do that very, very quickly, very easily, and all for a very reasonable rate, which we will be announcing later on this year.
Very cool. And that's stela.com for those of you listening over the podcast. So Steve, I mean, that's awesome. Congrats. You alluded to perhaps a little bit of this when you were here before. So congrats. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So talk to us a little bit about what 2016 is going to look like for you. What's the road ahead, the ups and downs, you think?
Well, I don't have to tell you guys that the first year that a startup goes public is pretty key to making sure that there's more successes than failures, certainly, or we'll say more successes than learning opportunities. So part of the challenge for me this year is making sure that people are aware of what our product is, what it does, and that it reaches the audience that we want, as well as growing that audience into a new sort of demographic. And the best part about mobile is that mobile has a not limitless, but very, very large potential user base. It's just a question of making sure that they're aware of it and making sure that they have the ability to access it easily, which if anybody could tell you exactly how to do that for a mobile app, I'm pretty sure they could make more money than doing just apps. So
wouldn't that be nice?
Exactly. So it's certainly a unique, not a unique challenge, but it's a very challenging aspect of my job, and certainly something that I'm going to be working on very hard moving forward. We're going to be exhibiting at a lot of different shows this year. Not exhibiting, but we'll have appearances there. Our staff is going to Emerald City Comic Con later on this year. There will be some of us hopefully at Heroes Con in Charlotte, North Carolina as well. So if you do like comics and you're interested in what the next step of the digital evolution of reading this wonderful material might be, please feel free to give me a contact. I'm at Steve Sunu on Twitter. You can contact me there. I'm Steven.Sunu on Facebook. So, wherever it is that you want to contact me, feel free, and we'll chat about comics. Always happy to talk about what you're reading, what people are interested in, and just generally what people think about comics and how they like to read it.
Definitely. Well, I'm giving you a call at some point because we need to talk about the latest run on Robert Kirkman's Invincible.
That sounds excellent because I thought it was great.
I did too, but we're not going to do this right now.
No, not going to do this right now.
Come on, as much as I want to. Oh, it's so good. It's the one nobody talks about, but it's so good. Anyway. So taking a moment of the theme, let me ask you, let me put it this way. In 2015, clearly this is something that you were working on, particularly in stealth mode. You can talk about it publicly now. What would be one thing if you were to go back to the beginning of this process, now having gone through sort of the stealth part of building a startup? What's the one thing you'd bring to the table if you could start over again today? The thing that maybe you wish you'd known?
If I could start over again today, the thing that I would bring to the table is probably I would want to take a little more risk, I think. I feel like we announced in the comics market and it was great and we had a big splash, and there have been a few articles coming out about it since. You can follow Stila at Read Stila on Twitter. I'll type that into the chat. And that's also the username for Instagram and Facebook and Tumblr as well. But I would want to take some more risks in where we hope to get placement, and where it is that we ended up getting placement was great. It would have been nice to even have more of a be a little bit more ambitious than that.
Sure.
So it's sometimes you gotta start out the gate a little more cautiously. I wish that I'd known that sometimes it's okay to sort of swing for the fences a little bit more and sort of take those risks that you might not normally want to take in the same situation, not at a startup, at a regular company for a project that doesn't have as much support. So it was a really good learning experience for me, and certainly as we go into launch now, that was announcement. So this is coming into launch. I'll be taking a lot more risks and pushing a lot harder on certain outlets. So
I dig it.
Is there a particular risk that you're thinking about that you guys decided was too much of a risk at the time, but that going back you might have given it a shot?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think it's just more. I was a lot more cautious than I normally was, just because I wanted to make sure that everything was placed correctly and that everything was firing off as regularly as possible. So I think the ability to step a little bit outside of my comfort zone and make sure that we're getting coverage that is not only compelling and entertaining, but also helps to further drive the traffic of the sites that we're partnering with. I think that's going to be a key part of what I'm doing moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Yeah. So what are the things that you guys are going to do differently this year, knowing you want to take a few more risks? Are there any risks you can tell us about that you guys are?
I mean, I've got a couple of things that I'm thinking about. Certainly, I would say that a big part of what makes us unique is our reading experience, in that we to read our comics, you scroll down like you would for Facebook or Twitter or Tumblr, rather than swiping like you would on Tinder or Grindr.
Or just Comixology.
Or just Comixology, for that matter. So we're
where we got Tinder and Grindr out of this, but all right. Sure.
If you swipe left.
Swipe right. Yeah. I'm just saying, you can go either direction. It's fine. Judging.
So I would like to sort of figure out ways that we can provide assets to our partners that showcase that particular aspect of what it is that we do in our unique reading experience. Animated GIFs are a great way to, or GIFs if you prefer.
Oh, I was just going to ask.
If you prefer.
Do you call it graphics?
Animated GIF graphics to really showcase how the product works, and maybe utilizing video assets now that we've got more of that stuff in house. It's great to explore more showing rather than telling.
Yeah.
Ways to show people how great this app is and what a wonderful reading experience it's really going to be.
Very cool.
So I can maybe get my my Cowboys and Aliens comic alongside my Cowboys and Aliens movie.
Why would you even mention that? This is supposed to be a happy reflective time.
This
is lessons learned, not terrible movies that we made.
Not lessons unlearned.
Not lessons unlearned.
The following statement by Teague Hopkins does not reflect the larger sponsorship positioning of StartupJab. Teague neither represents nor endorses comics of a specific nature. Don't bring that up again. Anyway, more to the point. I think it sounds to me like you've got a real awesome adventure ahead of you. I hope you will come back and tell us more about it later, particularly as it builds and grows, because I think where you are right now is particularly exciting and particularly scary, and it's probably good to document as much of it as possible.
Absolutely, and I think one of the big lessons I've got moving forward, it's okay to be scared. It's what you do with that fear and what you do to help mitigate that. That's really gonna drive you moving forward. Yeah. So I think it's okay to be scared, but you got to make sure that you're always working towards trying to alleviate that fear.
Yep.
While still being scared. Like, the fear is a good thing to drive you forward, but work towards alleviating that fear rather than just letting it paralyze you.
I like it. And frankly, I think it's the most optimistic way to look at it, which is the important thing more than anything else. Just have a good attitude.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely. Just like you guys.
Aw, you're a sweet talker. I know this about you.
I try.
Cool. Hey, Steve, if you don't mind sharing, if people have questions or wanted to follow up with any thoughts or anything of the like, what would be the most appropriate or best way for them to reach out to you?
I'm linking my Twitter here in the chat. That's actually the most expedient way to get in touch with me. I check Twitter constantly, and I post a lot of Taylor Swift GIFs. So that's super exciting.
Okay. And for those of you listening, that's twitter.com/Steve Sunu. This will all be in the show notes as well, so people will be able to track that down.
Yeah. But that if you want to reach me, please reach out. I'm always happy to talk about comics, happy to talk about anything. And yeah, thank you guys so much for having me back. I appreciate the invitation.
Absolutely. We always appreciate you having on the show. Thanks again. And we'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right. Take care. Very
Thanks,
cool.
Steve.
Yeah. The one thing about Steve's experience that I really appreciate is that, coming from a background that isn't necessarily about focusing on startups as a concept, I think I really appreciate that he's focusing on something that's really a passion that he's turning into something that has been identified as a need, right? It's not about, I want to be a startup founder. It's, I really like comics and I think there's a better way to do them. And let's go see if there's something in there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very cool. I'm a little envious of that.
Okay. Yeah. I get that. Me too. You know what? Envy, jealousy, these are signs that we should be changing things. Steve, you've inspired us. We're changing StartupJab to the Jason and Teague Therapy Hour, where we're going to talk about all the things that we're sad about. I feel like that's the way to do this. I feel like it's the only way to move forward.
Or that we're afraid of, right?
Sure.
Well, let's take Steve's advice directly. We'll talk about the things we're afraid of and how to ameliorate that fear. Let it drive us forward and not drive us.
Ameliorate, a 760 SAT word for those of you still counting. Teague, I'm pretty sure you scored substantially higher on the SATs than I did, so just smile and nod. It's okay. I think if I scored 4 digits on my SATs, I think my parents would have been proud. But that's, again, neither here nor there. Coming up next, my gosh, first of all, before we have the opportunity to speak to our next guest, Erica from A Little Nudge, and I'll let her do a little bit of introduction because she's brand new to this. Can I just say, Erica was across the way from me at Tech Day a couple of months ago. And bear in mind, my booth had like Mario Kart set up, so we had a bunch of people coming over, and she was still grabbing people and chatting with them. Definitely one of those people who is aggressive is the wrong word, who is outgoing, who is enthusiastic and is ready to grab people at a moment's notice to tell them all about what she's doing. So, Erica, if you want to go ahead and jump in, grab that open seat and go ahead and we'll get you rocking and rolling. Oh, there she is. And sound, audio, do your thing. Come on. Oh, we're so close. I can feel it. This is the one thing about doing this live. You never know how it's going to go. It's constantly an adventure. Oh, please.
Well, we're not letting our fear drive us.
Exactly. I'm petrified. Erica, if this isn't working, try closing out and refreshing the browser. We'll vamp for a second. It's no big deal. Katie, if you can help her along with that process, I will say this, though.
We can play Mario Kart.
We can play We can always play Mario Kart. Mario Kart on the N64 was the important one. I always found that was the one.
Yeah, you guys have a vintage system set up there.
We do.
That was pretty good.
We keep it handy just in case.
This was no emulated Mario Kart. This was serious old school.
What is this? What is amateur hour? Come on. All right. Well, it looks like we're having a little bit of a challenge with Erica. Katie will hopefully help her get that resolved. We'll get that taken care of momentarily. In the meantime, if any of you live chat want to offer us your thoughts on good advice for 2016, we'd love to hear that. In the meantime, though, Teague, I think one of the things that I'm really looking forward to about 2016 is the adventure of just not knowing what the hell's coming down the pike. I think so many other times I've had sort of a sense of like, this is how it's going to look and things are going to be challenging. But isn't it kind of fun that like you really don't know what the hell's coming down the pike?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's, there's some similar thoughts. I'm trying to remember where I've read this. I think John August, a screenwriter, talks about stopping a writing session when you don't know what's going to happen next. Right. And there's some people that like to know what's going to happen next, so they know like when they sit down, they know what they're writing in the next scene. And there's some people who want to not know what's happening next because it's more interesting if like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen next. I'm going to sit down and it's going to be interesting to figure it out. And if I already know the whole structure, I'm just going to get bored and not want to come back and finish it because I already know what's going to happen. And I think that, I'm definitely in that second camp. I like the sense of possibility, and the sense that it's not all planned out. I have some ideas of things that I'd like to try, things I'd like to work on, but
well,
I'm looking forward to the adventure of the upcoming
absolutely year. Well, and I'll say this too. I mean, I think you're not alone in that. One of the folks we heard back from was, I should say, two of the folks that we heard back from, Paul and Brittany Medeiros, who were on one of the earliest shows, I think episode 3. I mean, we already have it up where I can't remember.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. And in fact, the part that I remember is they were calling in from a coffee shop, but the coffee shop was too loud. So they actually went out to their car in the parking lot and sat in their car using the coffee shop's Wi-Fi to be able to call into the show, which was like, that's a level of dedication that
that was pretty great.
Oh man, those guys are great.
I would say this, they are the kind of people who, talk about taking the bull by the horns and just building a business. We'll make sure to link back. They've got, a bunch of stuff that they've built, books that they've sold, different products. But Paul and Brittany both wrote in and they had these thoughts, which was first, number one, it was about their sales and how sometimes they spike, sometimes they drop, and you have to learn to be okay. You have to learn to just, to expect the unexpected, right? Some days they'd sell 20 copies. Some days they'd sold 1 copy. Sometimes it was because they went to meetups, but, they never really were quite sure. And that was okay. You learn to accept that sometimes it's a law of averages versus, hoping that a spike represents a larger growth, pattern that's coming down the pipe. But they said that once they crossed 100 customers. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, so I was going to say the same thing. I really liked so this is their book, Crafting Your UX Portfolio, which is all about helping UX designers create a portfolio that helps them get jobs. And they talked about, both the expected spikes, like when they got it featured on Sidebar.io or on Product Hunt. And then, there'd be this big spike and then it sort of would trail off and trail off pretty quickly. Not a lot of long tail from that stuff. But then I really liked that they had a couple spikes that they just couldn't figure out where it came from, right? And they assumed that that's either like some private newsletter or like in-person meetups where somebody mentioned them and it created this spike of traffic, but they never figured out where that traffic came from. And I think that experience is just so kind of emblematic of being an entrepreneur. Is like, I have no idea why it's working. Sometimes stuff just works and you run with it and you can't pin down what caused it, but you take it and you go with it.
Well, and it's interesting to me, I would say that one of the things that they wrote in that is particularly of interest to me is how once they crossed the 100 customer line, it helped clarify their goals and actually they took it out of the equation. They decided to give it away for free on Medium. That their goal actually in the long term was never necessarily to build a sustainably selling product. It was to reach the people who needed it. That it was about really building that value, which led to later more, sort of a more formal business that they were offering in terms of, their guide, but guide with mentorship, and then sort of building out sort of what the business was organically, right? They had. Admittedly, it's a luxury, but they had the luxury of saying, well, you know what? It's actually less important to us to try to nail this problem of book sales and more bringing the value that we know the books can bring to the forefront, which I think is really important. I think so many people put too much focus on generating revenue and not bringing value, which, again, you have to have money in the bank to be able to make that differentiation sometimes. I get that, but still.
Yeah. No, I think it's really great. The clarification of, we're not figuring out how to sell a book. We're trying to figure out how to help UX professionals. Yeah. And that sort of led into the change that they're making in their business, which is, they originally had a couple tiers, right? So you could get just the book for $30 or you could get the book plus some one-on-one coaching time with them for $100. And they originally capped that one-on-one time because they didn't think it was going to be a big piece of this. It was sort of like, oh, well, we'll just offer this as a side thing that, maybe some people want. And they ended up getting 10 times as many people wanted that as they had arranged for like the time to do it. And so they realized, well, okay, maybe this is not actually so much about the book. Maybe it's about, being able to actually help these people doing portfolio reviews. Right. And so now they're thinking about how they can help those folks in a way that is not necessarily just selling the book. And so they're thinking about doing some one-day courses, doing periodic check-ins with folks, and do much more service-oriented kind of solution to helping these UX folks, create their portfolio and get a great job. And as Paul says, there's always a product hidden in the service, right?
Yeah.
So it's they've started with a product and they're moving more towards the service, but the service is still a product in some degree.
Well, and the truth is, I mean, in the end, isn't it sort of, they're always sort of a mix of both, right? I mean, even when you're buying into, I mean, if you're, paying a monthly subscription for a gym, right? The service is I get to go to the gym and it's available to me when I want it and how I want it. But the product really is, a clean gym with these kinds of weights and these kinds of exercise machines. So I always think of it interesting that we sometimes make such a stark differentiation between the two. And again, in the end, I think they hit the nail on the head. It's about bringing value. It's about finding the right person to bring the value to. So, yeah. All right. Well, that's fun.
And speaking of the right person, the last thing that they mentioned that they learned this year was there's actually fairly high demand from the other side, right? From recruiters and companies looking to hire designers, and they want to know what to look for and how to do it well. And this is, it's so true. Like recruiting is a beast of a problem. It's a tough thing, particularly for startups, to try and find really great talented people to bring in who are actually available. And so. And to do it well, right? And to have a higher hit rate, not just we talked earlier about the advice to be careful about who you let work with your startup, like who do you let take care of your baby, but these companies wanting to know what's the best way to actually go about hiring designers, and so Paul and Brittany are exploring another customer segment and an opportunity to help out some of these companies with their hiring process, and it's high value, and there's some good signals there, and I think anybody who's tried to hire has exactly that kind of that orientation towards it. You can say if you can actually show me how to get high quality people into the business, that is worth a large chunk of money.
True enough.
And time.
Yeah. Why don't we'll just hand out rolls of $100 bills? It's just easier that way, right? Let's just all stop pretending to make nice things and just hand out money. Just faster that way. Is that not an option? I guess not. Oh, well.
I mean, just print money.
Sure.
Why
Why not? Yeah. I'm sorry. I got lost in dreamland for a second there. Please continue.
Just printing out rolls of money. Yeah. That's
how I roll, son.
Yeah.
I see. Thank you.
Yeah.
We do have one more. I think that's worth reading. Teague, if you want to take the lead on this one.
Sure. So this comes from Manny Tachawi. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation but Manny's great, so he won't mind. Manny's the co-founder and CEO of Layer Cake, which is a social venture. It's a social enterprise that promotes financial inclusivity and security in Tanzania. So Manny is working in startups and emerging economies. He's building a business in Tanzania, and he goes back and forth between DC and Tanzania, and he's a wonderful person and has some great advice to share with us on 4 different topics, which I think is, and of course, being Manny, he's organized them nicely for us to walk through here. So the first one is about the topic of people, right? And this goes back again to the be careful about who you let work in your business. But it's vital as an entrepreneur to surround yourself with the right people at all times. Invest in relationships that build skills and knowledge and network and passion, and focus your time and energy in positive relationships. Not everyone is going to get you. Not everyone's going to support you. So don't focus on them. Prioritize the people who support you and help you grow in all aspects of your life. And I really like that it's not just focus your energy on the people who help you grow your business. It's the people who help you grow in all aspects of your life, right? I think this is something that, what's the line is you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
So think about it when you're deciding, if you're starting a company with somebody, if you're taking investment from an investor, if you're hiring your first employees, you're going to spend a lot of time with them, and so you want to think about, like, are these the kind of people that I want to be hanging out with? And when you're thinking about what customers you want to serve, same thing, right?
Well,
who are the people that you want to spend the time with?
Well, I think that it makes it very interesting then when you talk about people who work from home or by themselves. I think it's Yeah, I mean, I think it's why the startup economy has so glommed onto co-working as a method for sort of resource sharing and communication growing. There's such a need for that kind of energy, and I think that finding the right people to build that kind of right energy for you is exactly what Manny's talking about. It's as he says, they're the real MVPs, right? Prioritizing the people who support you and help you grow. It's important. I would guess. I don't know. Again, I don't know much about these things, right? That's not true. I don't know. The self-deprecation is strong with me today. I am very sorry. Anyway, more to the point. One of the other things that Manny talks about that I thought was really interesting is you got to keep reading, right? And we keep talking about this. This is something that comes up in every conversation that most people have. It's that, we're always moving away from sort of sitting down and reading and moving towards sort of this instantaneous information download. But the truth is that, filling your mind with the right kinds of thoughts and skills and knowledge, and then analyzing it, contextualizing it, all that stuff it's really key. So I think, Manny's is lather, rinse, repeat, read often, read all sorts of new and interesting stuff. We don't think about that very much. And it's not just read any books, it's read what's pertinent to you and your work.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting how much of the same advice we're hearing here, right? So, Manny talked about people and Bess talked about people, right? Bess was the one who said, like, treat your business like your child. And with this idea about, make sure you're reading and learning and strengthening things, Molly said the same thing, right? Molly Katz said, be honest about those weaknesses and work to turn them into strengths. Try to shore up on some of that stuff. And so when you're thinking about what kind of things to read, it's worth thinking about what are the things that, not just the things that I really am interested in and already good at, but like, what are some things that I should listen to, right? What are some things I should look at? What are some things that I should invest in that are maybe not my areas of strength? I know that, for me, that's one of the things that I've started doing is trying to learn a little bit more about sales, right? This is one of my, I'm sort of jumping the gun here, and we'll come back to our advice later. But that's one of my lessons learned in the last year, has a lot to do about sales and how I can definitely be better at it. So I've been making a concerted effort to read more and listen to some podcasts about that.
Absolutely. I don't want to jump ahead because I have thoughts on that too. Anyway, so just to sum up Manny's other notes, which I think are certainly interesting, it's important to not only spend time in places that make you happy, it's also important to spend time in places that are outside your comfort zone, which I think is mostly it's much physical as it is intellectual. It's important to know your audience. It's important to go there. It's important to be comfortable with there. And then it's important to be in places that totally throw you for a loop and to be comfortable with discomfort. I might be overlaying a little too much of my own advice there. I apologize if so, but it just seems it's important to note that being in an uncomfortable place is key. Yeah,
absolutely. Especially as an entrepreneur, right? We have to get comfortable with uncertainty and ambiguity. And if we can get some practice in comfort with ambiguity and uncertainty in the rest of our lives, it can benefit us a lot when we are thinking about this upcoming year and the adventure and not knowing where it's going.
Absolutely. So Manny. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, so the last piece of advice Manny has is share and share alike. And he talks about, telling other people, not just telling people like who you are and where you're coming from and what you're working on, but your journey, right? And the little things along the way in that process. And it's the, who you've met and who you've talked to, what you've read, where you're going, like physically where you're going, the places that you're traveling to, those exotic places. And sharing all of that knowledge with the people who are on their own journeys. And I think so often we don't talk about our journeys when they're hard. We talk about them when we're already successful. And that's one of the things that we really strive to do on StartupJab is share stories from people who are in the middle of it, right? People who are in the fray, who are in that chaos and still know what it's like to be in that chaos, right? It's you get very different type of advice when you are, when you've already sold your company and you've taken your 3-month sabbatical on a beach in the Caribbean somewhere, and then you start giving advice to people who are in the middle of building their business, and it's like, well, you were there, but do you really remember what it was like? do you really remember the chaos of the day to day? Do you remember what happens when your lead designer tells you, I got another job offer, I'm leaving in a week? And what do you do, right?
I don't know. Can I just skip to the part where I get to take a 3-month sabbatical to a tropical island? That sounds great. Is there a fast forward button?
That's good.
No. Okay. Damn it. Every time.
No fast forward button there. There's a forward button, but
I don't think it applies to this one, unfortunately. Well, I'll say this. I think that the thought there is important. You want to keep people in the context of their, where they are, and their advice has to come from a place of, I don't know, recent memory, or at least a touchstone that is a little bit more relevant. I don't know. I think the challenging thing about that is simply that it's I don't know. I think it's the kind of thing where people want to know that there's an end to, that there's an end to the rainbow with a bucket of gold at the bottom, at the end, the bottom. I'm a little tired, but at the same time, you need to know how to get there. So I don't know. It's both ways for me, I guess.
Well, and I think that to some degree, the obsession with the pot of gold at the end encourages a lot of folks to get into entrepreneurship who maybe shouldn't, right? If you're looking at it as a payout, it's not just a way to get rich quick. And in fact, the people who go into it with the goal of making money rarely end up making money. The people who end up making money are the people who go into it with the goal of solving some particular problem. And I think that's we might be a little better off if there was a little less discussion of the 3 weeks on the beach and more discussion of the day-to-day chaos.
Well, with that, we're sort of rounding third and coming home. Before we offer our advice, though, we are fortunate. We asked for responses in all media. Most of them were written, but somebody left us a little audio clip. Teague, are we good to go with that?
Yeah, we are. This is Mal from Rocket Koi.
Hi, StartupJab. It's Sarah and Malcolm from Rocket Koi, and as we were commanded, we're coming your way with some advice. So our advice to everybody is, when you're sick, take a sick day. Your clients will understand, and you're not going to be any use to anybody if you burn the candle at both ends. And actually, your clients will understand most issues that arise as long as you work hard to set up a truly collaborative relationship with open communication right from the very first meeting. So be honest, be open. Your clients will follow your lead, and be sure to take sick days. Have a great 2016.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself from laughing.
Yeah.
But if that isn't spot on.
This is. Yep. I think they nailed it, and particularly this is recent for me because a couple of weeks ago I was sick and I had to take a sick day for the first time in a while, and I was a little nervous about it, but I had to push a bunch of meetings and things, but everybody understood.
Yeah.
Right. And afterwards, everybody, we do business with people, right? We don't do business with businesses, and people understand when you get sick, and it's a lot better than trying to, make it through those meetings when you're not feeling so well. Better to take the time, rest, take enough time to actually rest and get back in it and come back and give.
Oh yeah. I remember September, October of last year, I had a week where, Sunday night I wasn't feeling well. Monday I rolled in. I tried really hard to push through it and couldn't, and ended up leaving the office at 2 or 3 o'clock to go home and lay on the couch. Didn't get enough rest. Tried to push through. Came back Tuesday. Made it to about the same amount of time. Went home early, and that happened throughout probably through Thursday. I think maybe Friday I was good enough to make it to like 4:30 and be a reasonable adult. And it doesn't serve anybody. You end up hurting yourself in the long run as much as you think you're saving yourself in the short. And, you got to treat yourself right. That's really important to any project that's ongoing. So treat yourself 2016. Sorry. I really love Parks and Rec.
Yep. That was the reference.
I ruined it, didn't I, by saying it out loud? Damn it. Steve's got it. Steve in the chat right there. # teach yourself. That's from the finale. Y'all should watch it. Anyway, unfortunately, it looks like technical challenges are going to prevent Erica from joining us. But we will make sure that we get her thoughts if If we're able to get them in the next few minutes, we'll read them out loud. And if not, we'll make sure that they go up with the show notes too, because we don't want her voice to be lost in the midst of a minor technical snafu. Personally, I blame Teague, but that's just me.
That's fair. Yeah, you should blame me for all things technical. I actually am the internet incarnate.
Right. Well, you're just a series of tubes, as we've learned in the past. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Well, absolutely. Mr. Series of Tubes, what are your thoughts? What is the one thing that you want to kick off? The one piece of advice you want to kick off 2016 with?
Oh, it's so hard to have just one. And this is the problem of like, I sat down to write my pieces of advice before the show. And I was like, oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. And then I'd walk away and I'd come back. Oh, wait, there's another one I got to put in. And so I ended up having a whole bunch of that, but I'll try to keep it short, so that I don't bore everybody to tears. The one that I think is a big learning for me that I alluded to earlier is around the idea of sales. And I think that, this is a lesson that I think I've learned many times and continue to keep learning. But it's that the world is not a meritocracy, right? We go through our whole educational experience in a quasi meritocratic, anyway, in a sort of meritocracy, and then we emerge into the business world, and you don't necessarily do business with the person who's best at providing the service, right? You do business with the person you like or the person who's the best at selling it. And so I had a couple of moments in the past year of seeing somebody sell a project and knowing I could do that project better, right? But I didn't sell it. And on some level, like, all right, fine, right? I didn't sell it. That's fine for me. I don't need the money. But on another level, the person who's getting that service is not getting the best possible service. And so I would argue that there is if you can deliver a service that is really great, you have a moral responsibility to get good at selling it, because otherwise all of your potential clients are going to miss out on having that really great offering. And I think that's been something that's been helpful for me in getting past this. I don't particularly like sales. I'm not very good at it. And getting over the idea of like sales is about asking somebody to give me something, and getting more into the idea that, sales is a partnership, right? Sales is about, I have something that I think I can solve this problem for you. And I think I can actually solve it better than the other options you're looking at. I won't say better than everybody, but yeah. And so, and there's a, that's part of providing value, and part of providing a good service is actually being able to sell it.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's a good thought. I mean, it's an interesting way to phrase it, that you have a moral responsibility when you have something valuable, but I like that. I like that a lot, actually. It's rare. You've left me speechless.
My goals are accomplished for 2016. I can quit now.
Okay, fair. All right. Oh, good. Jason? That's the opening I was asking for. Well, I'm gonna do my best to keep it short, like you. Although knowing me and how long-winded I am, good luck. 2015 was a lot more of a challenge for me than I thought it was going to be. As much as I wanted certain things to go the way that I had planned for them, they didn't. And in the end, it was a really challenging year. But coming out the end of it and being in 2016 now, I'm fortunate to have a company I really like, really love, people around me I really enjoy, and more than anything else, a sense of direction. It is not without challenge. It is not without bumps, like I alluded to earlier. Already had a couple, but that's okay. The piece of advice I would share for 2016 is, be kind to yourself and be generous with yourself. I guess that's the best way to phrase it. That we oftentimes are our own worst judges. We're our own worst enemies. Things aren't going to work out the way that we think that they're going to. You can sign somebody to a contract that guarantees you, $10,000 a day. And if they can't pay and, the contract's unenforceable, then you're SOL and you have to be okay with that, which is not what happened. Nobody would pay me $10,000 a day for anything, I don't think. But more to the point, yeah, maybe one day. More to the point, it's easy to beat yourself up. It's easy to take yourself a little too seriously, to be a little too wrapped up in the details. Have faith in yourself, be good to yourself, and be okay with the fact that things are going to go up and down. It's not the individual wins or losses, it's the overall average. And if things are trending up, that's the important thing.
And even if they aren't, beating yourself up isn't going to make them.
No, just go find more money. Go make more money. Go sell something valuable that Teague will buy. Wait, that's not what your advice was. Damn it. Anyway. Yeah. Fortunately, you're not going to wrap on our advice, because I'll be honest with you, Teague and I, we're not that bright. But producer Katie, if we can get her in, if she'll do it, if we can get her to...
She's giving us the text. I think she's still working on some technical stuff, but we can put the text.
I'll tell you what.
And we can.
I'll take the first paragraph. You take the second.
You can be the voice.
Let's. All right. So,
okay. Cool. We'll be the voice.
So pretend I'm much prettier. Here we go. Katie's advice for what she wished she knew when. And again, this is all from producer Katie. When I started The Good Lemon with my co-founder last summer, I had no idea where to start. I just jumped in, absorbing as much information as I could on the fly and talking to everyone I knew who might have something helpful to say. I wish I had known how valuable these relationships would become as my business grew and as I grew as an owner. This is scary and hard and also amazing. And if I didn't have good people to share the ups and downs with, I wouldn't know where I would be now. It's not just referrals or money, although these things are important. It's about making strong connections with those who genuinely support you and who you can support in return. And on the flip side of that, clearing out the relationships that don't make you feel supported.
Yeah. And for the new year, Katie says, if you don't do this already, figure out a routine that helps you be the most productive and happy. Having flexibility means being able to do things you need to take care of yourself, to feel good, clear your head, and feel accomplished, whatever it means for you, right? For me, it's exercise, travel, and helping friends with passion projects like StartupJab, and we are very thankful for that. The more you take care of yourself, the more you can give to others. And if you don't take care of yourself, you're doing a disservice to your business and your relationships. And this is, Jason, you guys had actually fairly similar advice, right? You don't beat yourself up. You got to take care of yourself. Put on your own oxygen mask first, right?
Yeah, before helping others. Well, that's just because small children are obnoxious. That has nothing to do with treating yourself good. Oh, wait, it does. Damn it. Right. No, you're absolutely right. Look, we say this almost every episode, but I'll say it again because it's worth repeating. We got some really great advice from people. It's a little hard to sometimes solicit responses. I think we got some really great ones, and I'm really thankful for that. And as we always say, we're really thankful for our audience and for their time. If you take anything away from this, it's that there's actually a lot of really good advice out there, and whatever works for you is the important thing. It is not about one piece of advice being right for everybody. It's about the one piece of advice that's right for you. So wherever you are in your situation, if there's something here that's been said today that resonates, I hope it helps. And we're thankful for your time and energy with that. How'd I do? Did I do okay? Yeah.
Too true.
All right, good. Yeah. Big thumbs up.
Perfect.
Okay. T, where can everybody find you on the internet if they want to reach out and say hi?
You can find me at Teague Hopkins on Twitter or at teaguehopkins.com with its slightly new homepage.
I like that.
Check that out.
And I'm at Jason Nellis on pretty much every social media you'd care to find me on. You can also email me, Jason at brllnt.co. That's brilliant without the vowels, .co, not .com, as somebody tried to email me at before, because we don't own that. It's surprisingly expensive. Feel free to reach out to us about anything. Teague is a hell of a guy to chat with, and I can say from having worked with him, he's pretty smart at what he does. And of course, as always, you can join us at StartupJab.com to download previous episodes. Give us a little rating on iTunes if you feel like it, and sign up for our newsletter, and you can get up to the day notice about all things happening with us. Some of the things we couldn't include in today's episode will go out as a blog post because there was just that much response. So I think that pretty much covers everything.
It's pretty great.
Teague, did I forget anything? Did I leave anything out? Oh, Erica who unfortunately wasn't able to join us for today's show due to technical issues, I am going to declare on the show right now is going to come back, and we're going to actually have a more in-depth conversation with her, because I feel bad that she hit a snafu based on a computer issue.
Yeah. We'll try to sort out some of those computer issues before the
Son of a gun. Well, I think that's it. As always, I want to also make a special shout out to producer Katie, who has joined us and is going to help make 2016 awesome. And a special thank you to @TechStud Jason from Blab, who was trying desperately to help Erica with her technical issue during the midst of the show. Since we do all of this in one take, we're sort of all in the back of our brains, crossing our fingers, hoping it would work out. But even though it didn't, his efforts are not unappreciated. So thank you to him. I think I've covered everything.
Indeed.
I think we have.
I think you have. On that note.